Okay, so good morning, everyone. Today we are starting a very exciting initiative for the benefit of people around us, to all our readers, potential customers, even investors, stakeholders, right? So there have been a lot of, lack of information about role of microbiome in our health, and there are multiple issues being faced by us, because of multifactorial conditions we all are facing, whether it is nutrition, whether it is external environment, right? So we are decided to start on Q&A Tuesday, right? Which will be taking every Tuesday. We'll be taking around 4 to 5 questions from our readers and potential customers, and we'll be, answering them from with a scientific angle, right? And it's all free for everyone. We are not charging anything for it. It's just a way of educating people around various aspects of health, right? So we will start off, and Ridhima, probably you can introduce yourself first, because I think this is your first interaction in the public. So probably
Yeah.
introduce yourself and then we can start.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Ridhima Jain and I'm the marketing head at Gene Fitletics. We here are introducing this question series for you guys to tell us what are the problems you are facing related to your health. You tell us and we'll tell you the solution to it. And probably if you like it, if you apply it and it gives you something in return, it heals you, then please follow us and let us know how we did with your problems. So yeah, let's start.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the first question. How to correct fat malabsorption as it comes in urine, and sometimes stool floats and sometimes it's bulkier.
Okay. So we have to understand from the basics. The fat digestion is actually done by the bile acid again. So the bile acid is produced from cholesterol in the liver, right? And it is then secreted into gallbladder, where it is stored. And whenever we eat meal which has fat, so probably uh, the bile acid comes into act, and does the aids in the fat digestion process. So that's not only fat digestion, it also helps in cholesterol metabolism. It also helps in a lot of fat soluble vitamins absorption, right? There are multiple situations here. So what happens is, so a lot of these bile acid is actually metabolized, used to metabolize fat in the small intestine. But what we have found now is a lot of research around it which says that uh, a lot of these bile acid also goes to your microbiome, the large intestine, right? The gut microbiome, right? And where a lot of bacteria actually transform this primary bile acid into secondary and tertiary bile acid, right? Through various mechanisms. And for instance, it actually deconjugate certain amino acids, right? Uh, Such as glycine and taurine, right? It also do dehydroxylation of cholesterol core. So there are a lot of such functions which they perform. And in fact, the gut microbiota also transformed certain amino acids into bile acids. So it increases the diversity of bile acid in the gut microbiome, gut microbiota, right? And if your gut is imbalanced, probably it can lead to a lot of situations like irritable bowel disease and diarrhea, right? But in respect of this question specifically, so there are two situations. If you have a liver cirrhosis, it means you have an impaired bile salt secretion, or impaired bile salt synthesis, right? So it is unable to form the micelle, right? Micelle is actually a combination of various lipid molecules which is required for fat digestion. So that's why it leads to a lot of fat malabsorption, and the malabsorption, the low absorption of fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K. Similarly, if you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, again we have certain bacteria from the gut which moves to small intestine. So a lot of these bacteria actually again deactivate the bile salt, which is again required for forming the micelle, right? And again that leads to file malabsorption. So to answer your question, in this case there are multiple issues, because as I understand, you also wrote about that you have some digestive issues, you have SIBO, right? So essentially SIBO is linked to a lot of methane gas production inside your gut, a lot of activity, a lot of archaea. So probably the one solution is you should understand your microbiome, you should fix your gut, right, to improve your bile acid metabolism, and that's how you can actually overcome this situation. Yeah.
Okay, great. So now we have the next question.
Yeah.
Shaunak is my son and autistic with ADHD, non-verbal.
Okay.
He has been diagnosed from 3 years and getting worse day by day.
Okay.
Is there any way this autism can be treated? Like, have you any history of treating such patients?
Okay, so we did a detailed video on autism last week, but I will explain this right now, and we'll also share the link to the autism video, right? So you can get into deep dive into detail. So essentially, a lot of this neurodegenerative disorder in child is stems from mother's microbiome, right? So during the pregnancy, the child absorbs a lot of these bacteria during the birth process, when it is mother's womb, in placenta and umbilical cord, right? Umbilical fluid. So essentially, a lot of these metabolites of the microbiome can actually, trigger neuroinflammation, right? And even after the birth, the breast milk child gets a lot of these bacteria, depending on the mother's microbiome. If mother's microbiome is imbalanced, probably child gut would also be colonized by a lot of bacteria doing harmful activities. So there are certain metabolites which we see is, so a lot of the tryptophan, which is amino acid, which is converted into serotonin, which is required to regulate. It is a mood neurotransmitter, so it keeps you happy, right? That is one of the essential neurotransmitter which is required for the neurological health, right? Plus, however, if you have certain bacteria, tryptophan can be converted into endoxyl sulfate, which is a harmful endotoxin which can pass the blood-brain barrier, right? And again, there is an the way the metabolites are produced by gut, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier, goes to the brain, right? So essentially, this particular metabolite can trigger neuroinflammation. Similarly, certain other amino acids like tyrosine or phenylalanine, which actually gets converted into precresol and precresyl sulfate, right? That also triggers a lot of inflammation, right? And then some of the, so there are multiple biomarkers like TMAO, which is again coming from the metabolization of choline, hydrogen sulfide, ammonia, right? Ammonia is one of the most deadliest metabolite which triggers inflammation. It is also one of the urotoxin, which is also associated with development of chronic kidney disease, right? And this ammonia actually passes through the blood-brain barrier, disrupts the blood-brain barrier, and goes to the brain and start impacting the nerve cells there, right? And that's how child develop autism, right? So essentially, we really need to understand the activity and the functions of microbiome to determine whether your child is, what is the reason why your child is autistic, right? And what sort of interventions can actually cure it, right? So there will be a number of drugs which are available, which may alter your serotonin concentration, but it has a lot of side effects, so it doesn't cure your autism or ADHD, right? Again, ADHD is also linked to a certain neurotransmitter norepinephrine, which is again produced in the gut, produced by your gut microbiome, right? So you really need to understand the mother's microbiome, the child's microbiome, especially during the early stage of the life. And to answer your question, right, yeah, we have been addressing autism, so we have very unique product, what we call as Lil Bio, which actually decodes the functional activity of the microbiome of the children to provide right set of nutrition and therapeutic interventions to actually regulate or improve the neurodevelopment disorder, right? So if you have any further questions, or more probably if you want to know more about autism, right, so we'll be happy to have a detailed call with you, right? You can write to us directly at support@genefitathletics.com. We'll be sharing the email in the description box as well, right? So happy to help.
Yeah. So, okay. Next we have, does the microbiome influence our mood or brain activity?
Okay. Okay. So this is really an interesting question because, the instances of, mood disorders, stress, anxiety, depression is increasing, right? And a lot of interventions which we have seen right now in the market are mostly towards, some behavioral therapy, some counseling, some drugs, antibiotics, and blah blah blah. So have you ever wondered why, when you are going for an interview, you have butterflies in your stomach, right? So it's all connected, right? So your gut and brain are connected to each other through vagus nerve. So there's a lot of, production of neurotransmitters in the gut which impacts your mood, right? For instance, I'll share some of them here, right? So one is serotonin, which we discuss also in the autism case, right?
Mhm.
95% of the serotonin is produced in the gut, right? And from the gut, it travels via vagus nerves to brain, and then it regulates your mood. It makes you feel happy, right? So if your gut is in imbalance, probably if you're eating a lot of bad things, or probably you don't have the right set of bacteria to convert tryptophan into serotonin, right? You may have that mood disorders, right? So again, that is one aspect. Second is again dopamine. Again, dopamine, we know it is required to plan, remember, and strategize. It is also a neurotransmitter for pleasure. 50% of the dopamine is produced in the gut, right? So some specific neurons actually connect gut and brain, right, for transmitting this dopamine. And again, if you and a lot of intestinal cells are also responsible for producing dopamine. So if you don't have the right set of bugs in the gut, or probably your gut is imbalanced, right, probably your body would lack production of dopamine. Or if you are eating too much of sugar, right, so it changes your taste receptors, and then your bad bugs start releasing dopamine to make you eat more of sugar, and it further triggers, we know high consumption of sugar lead to insulin resistance, and insulin resistance is connected with depression and impact on your mood and behavior, right? So again, these are. So another one is GABA, which is again a very essential neurotransmitter. It is produced in the gut, right, and it has anti-anxiety and anti-depression activities, right? So we really need to understand, if your gut microbiome, again, you have a gut dysbiosis or a leaky gut, you would not be having a right GABA production. We have seen a lot of our customers who have lot of Parkinson's and autism customers, and people who have depression, anxiety attacks, right, have very low GABA production, right? This is one of the key biomarker. And again, norepinephrine again is another neurotransmitter which regulates our flight and fight response, right? And again, so we need to balance it. It doesn't have to be too low or too high, right? So a norepinephrine, low norepinephrine is connected with ADHD, depression issues, right? Which we also, probably person who asks about the autism can also, take care of, their brain health of the child. Again, a lot of norepinephrine, which we also decode that what is the level of your fight and flight response, right? Or if it's too high, it can lead to anxiety attacks and depression, right? So again, we need an average thing, right? So there are a lot of these neurotransmitters which are produced by your gut, right? That travels to brain. And again, if this is something which is, if you have mood and behavioral issues, so probably you should fix your diet, right? Because your gut microbiome is, or the functions of gut microbiome is modulated by the right set of nutrition choices, right? So diet does play a role, right? But you really need to understand what specific food, nutrients, ingredients you need in your diet, which can regulate the, or which can promote the anti-inflammatory activities by your gut microbiome, right? So I think these are few things which I hope this would have answered your questions. But anyways, Ritika, how do we make them? Are we sending them emails about their response, our responses to their questions? How are we going to communicate to them?
Okay, so probably we'll be posting our videos on YouTube as well, if I'm
Yeah,
not wrong.
yeah.
So those who are actually getting the answers and actually are interested, leave us a comment in our box and we'll contact you via an email or whatever we ask you. But first, we actually need a response from you guys so we can continue our journey a bit longer
Yeah,
and interact with each other to help you with your problems.
yeah. So
Yeah,
this was the
that's what I
first.
thought.
Yeah, great. So
Yeah.
this is the first Q&A Tuesday, which we had, right? And we'll be doing similar every week, right? And you can share your questions. We'll be sharing the link to the where you can post your questions, as well as we'll be dropping our email where if you have any further questions, you can write to us directly. And we'll also share the link to our YouTube channel, those who have not subscribed, right? So probably you can get updates on various other things what we are doing. Right?
Yeah. As well as reach us out on Instagram. You can DM us your problems and we'll definitely get back to you with the solutions. And if you really like them, we would love you to follow us and subscribe to our channel as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ridhima. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.